Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Integrity Restored podcast. I'm Jim O'Day, your host, and it's just going to be me talking to you today. I wanted to talk about a conversation I had recently with a guy that it really stayed with me, this conversation, for a couple of reasons. Was chatting with this guy who reached out to us, and he said, okay, man, this is all great conversation, but just give me 3 steps. Of course, immediately the Lynyrd Skynyrd classic came to mind, and I almost broke out in song. Thankfully, somehow, I kept it professional and actually thought about what he asked, because it's a really great question. He, like most people, when faced with this struggle, well, we just don't know what to do, where to start. So far, everything we've tried, from confession to white knuckling it, hasn't worked. We've certainly prayed hard enough, haven't we? So I thought about how to respond to his question, and I started by telling him that quitting porn is a challenging journey, but healing is possible. And maybe sometimes, especially in our own recovery, if we break it down into manageable steps, well, that can make it more achievable. As we've talked about many, many times on this program, here at Integrity Restored, we have the 3 pillars. So I started there. Pillar 1, the science. An availability to use all the science that's available to us to understand what's happening chemically, neurobiologically in our brains, utilizing therapy and counseling and coaching. The second pillar, an increase in the spiritual life, frequent reception of the sacraments, and spiritual direction. And then the third pillar, relationships, accountability. You know, that community, that recovery community we need to put together, because we can't do it alone. And so as we talked about those, I started to think, well, that sounds great and they're all important, but where do you really start? So we talked about another 3 steps we can take, kind of practical steps. So the first step is understanding your triggers and setting clear intentions of how you're going to respond when you have those triggers, those temptations. We talked about the blasted effect, BLASTD, bored, lonely, anxious, stressed, tired, and depressed. These emotional triggers are often the precursor to us falling into a spiral of porn usage. So now that you know these, the blasted effect, or any other triggers that you've been able to identify, we need to do some self-reflection. We need to identify when, where, and why we get sucked into that rabbit hole of porn. For us, is it normally stress or boredom or loneliness or certain time of day, certain place? All these things are triggers that we need to identify so that we can develop a plan for what we're going to do when we feel those things. The bottom line is, as a human being, you're going to feel all those. You're going to feel the blasted effect. Sometimes only one, sometimes multiple. What are you going to do then? Are you going to go back to the normal habit, or are you going to try something new? Which leads us to our next point. You have to define your why. Why are you trying to break free of this struggle? Why are you trying to break free of this habit, this addiction? You got to know what you're aiming for, ladies and gentlemen. Is it more self-control? Is it better or healed relationships? Is it your own mental clarity? Whatever it is, write it down, because that overarching goal is going to be a big component of continual motivation for you to keep up this journey. A very simple, practical thing we can do is we need to set some boundaries. And that first boundary is limiting our access. First of all, if you have porn on your phone, clean it off, or your tablet, or wherever you're accessing it. Clean your devices. That's number one. It's like spring cleaning time, ladies and gentlemen. Clean your devices. But then we have to limit our access to be able to find those. Utilizing something like Covenant Eyes, for example. If you go to covenanteyes.com and you type in our promo code Integrity30, you'll get a free 30-day trial to try it out. We here at Integrity Restored love Covenant Eyes because not only is it a very effective blocker, but it's also an accountability software, which ties right into our third pillar, relationships and accountability. One of the other simple things we may need to do is just unfollow or delete certain accounts. If you know there's certain Facebook accounts or Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts that you look at, and that kind of starts the engine, primes the engine for deeper or more inquisitive searching on your phone, well, delete those accounts. Block those accounts. We need to also change our device habits. For example, for most people, I tell them, no phone in bed. When it's bedtime, go to bed, leave the phone in the drawer, in the kitchen, in the living room, in a charger in another room, whatever you do, but don't bring that device with you into the bedroom, because that's where a lot of the problems happen, particularly when we're very sleepy, that tired, the T in blessed. Our frontal lobe is not really thinking, and we're kind of tired and groggy, and so we go back to exactly what we know will give us that shot of dopamine. So leave the phone out of the bedroom. The second practical thing we can do is start to build a habit of replacing the vice with virtue. What does that even look like, you say? Well, it's really simple. Find your substitutes. Whenever you have that temptation, whenever you have that urge, you need to have a go-to alternative, a substitute. We talk about all the time here on Integrity Restored about 15 minutes of active distraction to really block that temptation. So that's going to look different for everybody. But you got to have the plan ahead of time is the point. And then you have to be consistent with replacing that urge with something else. So 15 minutes of active distraction for some could look like a walk, a journaling session, saying the rosary, calling a friend, doing push-ups, diving into a hobby, whatever it is, 15 minutes of active distraction with something that replaces that vice with a virtuous habit. Another point here that can be very helpful is to stay active. Ladies and gentlemen, regular exercise and a structured routine can absolutely reduce the cravings for pornography consumption. When you do it regularly, your body creates a kind of low-level, consistent drip of dopamine, which we're really looking for when we view porn. We're looking for that dopamine hit. Regular exercise gives it to us in a manageable amount. And so staying active, not to mention that if our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, then we should be doing everything we can to take care of them. Regular exercise has so many benefits, including helping you on your recovery journey. The next practical point I want to talk about is building a support system. At various points in this recovery journey, but especially in the beginning, you're going to need to be talking to someone you trust and talking to them on a regular basis. But we always need to have that support system because we need to recover in community. The opposite of the addiction is not sobriety, though that's very important. The opposite of the addiction is actually community. It's those relationships. That's what's going to help carry us through. So whatever that looks like for you, talking to a trusted friend, a mentor, consider joining a group or therapy. But build that support system around your recovery journey. This one's hard, and it's one of the most difficult periods I see people go through in their recovery journey, and that's learning to be patient with themselves. Be patient with yourself. This is not going to lift away overnight. It has happened. I've heard miraculous stories of it, but that's not very common. What's far more common is that we have to do the hard work, and we have to do the hard work for some period of time. Be patient with yourself, track your progress, and bounce back from falls. What do I mean by that? Well, to track it, you can use a calendar, you can use an app, you can use a notebook, a journal. Mark your progress. When we see our streak grow, it's very motivating. When we see our falls laid out, recognizing that they may happen, these slips may happen, instead of spiraling, since you have tracked it now, you can analyze it. What led to that? Was it one of the letters in the blasted effect? Was it something else entirely? But you can figure out what led to it and now adjust. You can add a new tool in your toolbox to have a plan. If this happens again, I know what I will do. The important part, especially in the beginning of recovery, is not aiming for perfection. Because when we do that and fall short, we often spiral. Recognize that the slips may happen. Recognize that you will learn from that and then have a plan. So you're constantly tweaking and adjusting your recovery program. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we got to celebrate the small wins. Every day that you choose to live differently, every day that you choose to live without this monster in control of your life is a success. We got to learn to reward all the progress, even the little wins, not just when we're perfect. You see, this is going to be a journey that has many, many steps. There is no silver bullet. If I do this one thing, everything will be all better. But if we do all these things and do them consistently, we will have success. We will heal. And we will be moving towards being the sons and daughters of a loving God that He calls us to be. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for all your prayers and your support of this podcast and all the Integrity Restored products and services that we offer. If this or any of our products and services has helped you or touched you in any way, or if you just want to help bring this to more people, please consider making a donation today. We couldn't do what we do without the help of great friends like yourself. Go to integrityrestored.com/donate and make your gift today. May God bless your journey.